So, without further ado, I'm going to hand this over to Mike Mansur. He is the leader of the cave formation repair project. Um, Mike Mansur is also one of my closest cave mentors. When you cave with him, he has such a positive attitude. He's so helpful and just a wealth of knowledge. So I hope everyone enjoys his presentations as much as I have in the past. And I hope to see some of you kicking around in some caves with Mike one day. But here you go, Mike. It's all yours.
Well, thank you very much, Jenna and Matt, for your introduction. And I'm Mike Mansur, and so I've been working actually adding to this presentation for the last month, things I thought it needed to have to help educate people on what we do and also show you the results of our efforts. And I've lined up a bunch of folks that participated in a lot of these trips that they're going to share their experiences and how they feel about the project and what it's meant to them. That's near the end of the presentation, but I'm going to cover a lot of stuff. So um, if you have any questions, I'll wait to the end to ask that. So let's make sure we can advance the slide. Okay, so there. Did I ask him, did it change slides, Jenna?
Yes, yes, I see the second one.
Okay, good. Thank you. So this is what I've got set up. So the introduction to the CFRP and the caves, the most technical repairs that we've had. I wanted to highlight that because we've had to be kind of crafty to come up with some solutions for a lot of these more heavier formations, which you'll see how we've done it. And the tools too. I've invented myself a lot of tools to do with PVC, but I've also got some other folks that have crafted some tools and some procedures that work really well, and I've highlighted that too. The workshops that I've taught, I want to include all the people that were involved in that, and you get to see the different classroom locations as well as the field trips that we had. And again, we're going to have the perspectives of the team members. So I really value their opinions. It's been a great time, and this we're in our 8th year right now. And we'll talk about awards that the project has received and then conclusions and so forth. So let me go to the next slide. I didn't seem to want to advance by itself. Okay, my background. Let me get rid of those things. Let's see. Okay, so I began caving in 1968. I'm from Vermont originally, but I moved out here in 93. And so I flew out here when I was working at Dartmouth College to attend a restoration field camp, which was offered for a week-long expedition. And then the following week was going to be for the convention in it wasn't, I can't remember the name of the town that we were in, but it was in 86 when we had a huge rain event and a lot of the campgrounds got flooded out. And so a lot of folks that were at that convention will remember that. So I joined the NSS in 84 and then I right away became a life member. That was back when it was $500. But now it's 1,000 and well worth it in my opinion. And so I founded the Cave Formation Project in June of 2018 when I had a repair that I had to do, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. A conservation life member in 2021. And for that, you have to contribute, if you're already a life member, an extra $1,000 to go toward the conservation fund, which I did. And then I was just recently elected to a 3-year term of the board of directors for the NSS and a life member of the American Cave Conservation Association, which is a very worthwhile association. I'm so grateful to be part of that and introduced to it. And I've also led a series of trips into Lechuguilla for restoration until COVID hit. So after that, we put it on hold. And I've also served as chair of the Southwestern region for the NSS, and also currently a chair of the Sandy Grotto. So this keeps popping up, this meeting controls thing. Okay, so this is the stats sheet. So the formations that we have repaired to this point are 1,405. Volunteer hours worked by the participants during these trips are 6,461. Number of the trips so far is 166. Number of caves we've made repairs in is 19. And total hours driven by round trip by team members to participate is 419,000. And I keep track of that because for the Forest Service, we have a volunteer value sheet that we use. And on that, it has how many hours did it take you to drive and how many um, miles did you travel. And so I decided to do that with all the trips right from the beginning. So I have kept a record. And let's see, the total hours driven is 7,300. So here's a look at what we're facing every time we go into a cave. Maybe not to this extent, but this is just the human caused damage in Cottonwood Cave going into the cantina room. So the below that is a little funnel to get down to the cantina room, and this is what's at the bottom. So we know all these formations came from the top. Somebody went in there and just cleaned house. And this was back in the 80s, apparently, where they used fluorescent pink paint to find their way out of that borehole passage. And since the gating in that 86 period, I guess that course stopped all this. But this is what we're facing to match and repair. And these are some broken formations that were ground into the dirt and stepped on in Fort Stanton Cave. So we have to pull them out of the mud, clean them off, and repair them. So here's some that we've identified. This was in, I believe, Hidden Cave. And so it's just, we have to lay them out in order so we can get an idea of the shape and the diameter. And so that's the biggest challenge of this project is to match the broken formations that have been broken for many, many years to where they came from, the points of origin. So that's been a challenge. So you're going to see that going further in the presentation. So here's the caves in which we've done repairs to broken formations. So this is quite a variety, and it covers caves that are not only managed by the Bureau of Land Management, the Park Service, and the Forest Service, but privately owned caves. And every one of these caves, the people that manage them contacted me to go in. I didn't go to them and solicit anything. They've contacted me to go in and make repairs. So that's a great way to do it because they bought into it already. So again, we'll cover all these caves. You get to see some of the highlights of each one, and it's pretty interesting the different caves that we've been in. To do this manually. Okay, so the most memorable repairs that we have done starts off with these trips into the canyons that we go to. And so starting with Lincoln National Forest, okay, I'm going to talk about each one of these caves, highlights of each one, and you get a little idea of what we've done in each branch of the government. So this is what started it all off. I was asked by Aaron Stockton from the Forest Service of Lincoln National Forest to come in and do a repair that had been broken for 10 years, apparently. And so I didn't know at that point how to actually do any of those repairs. So I sought out the advice of a couple of friends, Jim Worker and Val Hildreth Worker, and they told me what type of epoxy to use and some other little tips. And so I went back and I got a couple of folks to come in and help me do this repair. And that's what started the whole project. So this shows how we actually drilled a hole to put a stainless steel rod in the center so this formation won't break in that same joint again. And that's after we joined them again with epoxy. So that was completed. But this is right off a trail and I have no idea how it was broken, but we made the repair. So in Hidden Cave, this was another one that Aaron told me about. And so these are the pieces after we laid them out on the tarp before we started to repair them. And so drilling them is sometimes a challenge. So I hadn't invented the speleo clamp yet, but you'll see that this was very valuable to have. But anyway, this is what it's like to drill a hole for the stainless steel rod. Now you have to put these stainless steel rods in because a lot of these formations get knocked into and bumped into because they're near the trail. So the stainless steel won't break. We've come across a lot of previous repairs that actually had carbon steel in them, like rusty nails and stuff, but that's how the process started back in the 60s, is they weren't sure what to use, so they used the carbon steel nails, which then corroded and then, went further along, and so now we're using stainless steel rods. So here's the formation after it's standing. We assembled all the pieces, put the stainless steel rods in. Now this is again the second repair that we made way back in 2018. And if you look closely, you'll see that I'm not wearing any gloves. That's now a taboo, a no-no, and the project will not accept touching the formations barehanded, but that was my naivety back then. So we don't want to leave any oils or any contaminants on the formations, but that's the second repair we ever did, so we learned from that. And that's it freestanding now after the joints were concealed. So again, this is back in 2018. So in Hidden Cave, there was a place that we had to step into this muddy area, and the thing we stepped on was this right here. So we had no idea that, where it was. I bet for 40 years that people use that as a step. And so when we were in there doing formation matches, Todd Roberts actually was making a repair to a stalagmite right near here, and he saw that piece of rock that we'd stepped on all this time, and he happened to look up, and he realized, gosh, that looks like that came from the curtain above us. So he pulled it out of the mud, and it matched. So we then started to clean it off. That's what it looked without the mud on it. And so the next step was to put in some stainless steel rods, because this is right on the trail going into the upper section of the hidden cave. So the challenge was is to put the stainless steel rods in and drill them. So here's where I invented the speedio clamp to hold these in place, but this wouldn't fit in that speedio clamp, which you see right there. So here I am at that point drilling a hole in this very odd shaped formation. And then here's where I'm drilling a hole into the place it came from. So you can see my left foot is about where it was for 50 years probably that it was broken and stepped on. And so this was a great challenge to get this in place. So we only had the speedio clamp and one stalactijack, which is a device that I created to easily do repairs on stalactites. Well, it didn't work to hold the thing up by just using the stalactijack. And so all we had in the cave at that time was a speedio clamp and one stalactijack. So that's Hunter Klein and Michael Moffat right there. And I always encourage innovation. Okay, I love people that come up with their own ideas. I said, guys, can you figure out a way to support this when we repair it? And so they created that device right there, which they named the Stalacticrutch. So it very well held that formation in place, which we ended up naming the elephant's foot. And since Jen Foote is the cave and car specialist down there, her name is spelled F-O-O-T-E, we decided to actually name it in honor of her. So that's where the elephant's foot came from. So that's it after it's been repaired, and that's one of our members that's applying camouflage to the joint because we don't like to leave the joints visible. We like to camouflage them. But that was a successful repair, which is there to this day. So in Virgin Cave, you'll notice this slightly leaning formation. It's a baseball bat shaped, top heavy, like a broomstick stalagmite. And so this is the next challenge we had. So this was 72 inches tall, and I didn't weigh it at the time. I'm now weighing all the formations so we know what they weigh, but it had two pieces to it, and somebody apparently had broken it off, and it's very top heavy. So the speedio clamp came into play. So here we are drilling the formation for the stainless steel rods, and I put a 3/8 inch, 8-inch long stainless steel rod in this joints because of the top heavy weight of the formation. And that's the speedio clamp holding it in place while the epoxy was curing. And so the next slide shows it completed. So you see it's taller than I am. And but it's back to where in its graces and for people to see when they take a photograph of the room. So also in Virgin Cave, if you've been back there to the lake room, there was a passage that is closed now, but it's called Grunge Hall. And so this stalagmite stub was at the base of the flowstone lead up to it. And it's been that way all the years I've ever been going in Virgin, And so it was a stub, and I never tried to find any pieces to it. Well, we went in there with a team from Colorado, and I'm not sure which one of them it was, but one of them looked into the pool, into the lake, and saw a piece that looked like the same diameter. And so I said, yeah, go ahead and fish it out with a speedio rake. And so we did. And it was right after that that along the trail, two more sections were found. And so now we have the complete formation ready to repair. So I had some folks in there from Colorado that never used a drill before in their life. And so I talked them through it. And so here's them drilling the sections to put the stainless steel pins in, because as you can see, this is a very narrow but tall formation. So it's likely to get broken again if we hadn't put the stainless steel rods in. So that's one of the folks drilling for the first time, the stainless steel pin. And so here's putting on the epoxy. And you can see it's a closed area now, but coming down that left side would have been a slide. You know, it's very slippery, so I can see how it got broken, but now I'm glad it's closed. So here it is completed with the 3 sections that were found. So it's standing all proud again. So that was a wonderful repair. I wanted to highlight that in this cave. And so this is a soda straw repair that it was actually near the Snake Dancers. So I think it was Mickey that matched that. And so I told her to go ahead and use the super glue. So we came up with a method to use this super glue and to accelerate the curing. None of us are very steady on our hands to hold something in place while the super glue dries. So another person had suggested that we use our Dremel butane heater, which we used to dry off the formations with, to cure the adhesive. Wonderful, wonderful idea. And so we've been using that ever since for many of the small repairs. So that's her using it right there to cure the epoxy, the super glue, and it works very well. It takes a matter of 10 seconds, and the heat helps cure that right away. So you can let go of the formation and not have to use anything. So we're repairing helictites and soda straws now very, very quickly with this method. And so in Virgin Cave, there was a bunch of broken shelf stone that people had walked on, not realizing probably it was shelf stone. So we used stalactite to put it in place while the epoxy was curing. Now I thank Hunter Klein for this because he was looking into the dirt and found all the matches to this shelf stone. So this is part of how we repaired it. It was the diagonal spring loading of the stalactite that kept the pieces in place. And so here's another view of a completion of that. There's this person's holding the one piece in the hand and putting the epoxy to it. And so here's one of the a couple of the Aggies Grotto members working on a match that they had made that I had been trying to find for many, many years. I couldn't find this. And so I ended up having them go in there, and with their pair of eyes, they found these 2 pieces for this very odd shaped stalagmite. And so since they had matched this, I said, go ahead and fix it. So um, here's actually them putting the pieces together. Now you look at the base of that, where they're holding the top. It's very irregular shaped. It was like an old stalagmite that had fallen down, and the new stalagmite grew on top of it. The right picture shows the stalactite bracing it in place. It has a stainless steel bolt in both sections, so once the epoxy is cured, that stalactite can be removed. And in Cottonwood Cave, so here is some pieces that we found in the cantina room of many, many broken ones in there. It was just a shame to see how this is damaged. But this is, I'm not sure if this was Michael Moffat that matched these pieces, but anyway, so each one of them has a stainless steel bolt in there, and the speedo clamp is holding it in place while the epoxy is curing. Well, that particular cave is closed during the winter for the bat hibernaculum, so we didn't come back till the next year to attempt to repair this whole complete stalactite to the ceiling. So when we did, it was a very active drip. The drip was dripping at least maybe one every 2 or 3 seconds, and the epoxy didn't hold. So I had been thinking about a way to do this with something wet before, so I ordered some stainless steel anchors, concrete anchors from a place in New Jersey that I ended up putting. You get these, they're 1/4 inch expandable bolts like you'd put in concrete, and so we drilled a hole into the base of the formation and expanded the anchor, screwed in a bolt, a 1/4 turning bolt, and then we just applied the epoxy not to the joint but to the actual hole where the stainless steel pin was going to be. Put a little tent over it with a piece of flagging and put the 2 pieces together and left it for another year. This was another, we were busy working in a couple places. So you can see the clamps and how it was supported. The stalactite jack on the right, we modified that with a horseshoe shape to hold it in place, but it was very active drip. And here's a speleo splint up in the top. You can see that keeps it straight and lined up. So came back the next year and took everything down, and here it is hanging today. It's got a very steady drip on the bottom, it's completely wet and it's hanging free. So it was such a satisfying thing to take that selector jack down and see this hanging there. So we have a way of dealing with active formations now, especially heavier ones. And so the process started back when in 2018, where Aaron Stockton had told me about the matches they had made in the Coke table room. They had names to, so we continued that on. So we were naming when we matched something to the ceiling or floor, we would put a name to it, and that was kind of a fun thing to do. Well, we ran out of names after a year or two, and so we started going to numbers. Well, Tobin actually came in on this trip, and apparently she had suffered a very serious issue, lost a family member, and wanted to name this formation after that family member. So if she wants to talk about that later when she speaks about her experiences, that'll be fine. But that was very touching. So that has significant meaning right there. And so here's how we actually install these stainless steel anchors into the ceiling. They have to be set. So once you drill a 3/8 inch hole, you insert the 1/4 inch anchor into it. You have to set it by tapping it with this little self-tapping tool, which spreads out the little fingers into the ceiling, because this was another one of those wet ones. And so here we are drilling the hole into the piece to receive the bolt. And then all we were able to do then is just simply put it in place and put a stalactite jack underneath it. And once the epoxy in the hole itself cured around the bolt, it was hanging free. And there it is today. So that's a very active drip. And 3 or 4 of these were very active, and we replaced them in the same way. But it's really satisfying to know we overcame the wet problem. So here in Pink Dragon Cave, of many repairs that we did, we had one that was almost 4 feet long and an inch diameter. This was a challenge because it was up in an alcove where you could barely stand on the sloped flowstone. So there's another one of my little inventions. I took a piece of PVC and split it in half to use it as a place to lay the long formation while the epoxy's curing. So I nailed out the speleo tray. So here's the two speleous splints holding the pieces together while the epoxy is curing. So there's a bolt in each one of those. So we put the bolts in at the previous trip. So here's the challenge we had. So here's the stalactite jack, and here's the sloping PVC device, which we ended up naming slope stalactite jack, to hold this in place for the next winter. So this was another 2-year project. And so we removed it, and now there it is today. So you can see how long it was. So it was just so nice to see it back in place. So we've flagged that area off, so hopefully nobody will need to go up into it and do any damage again. But you can see why it probably broke, as somebody bumped into it. Carlsbad Caverns National Park. So we had some very interesting repairs we've done there. So I think you all might have probably heard about the broken speleothem inventory that they do every 10 years there. And so I was asked to come down and participate in that too, which was kind of fun because you get to, go through the cave and actually look for places that probably most cases the people have broken formations off, the visitors have, and so we can identify that with different color coding through every decade. So anyway, so it was one of the folks there had asked me about this repair. They had a broken repair to be done that was done by apparently a child had thrown a rock at a formation, broke it. It fell down and smashed in two pieces when it hit the railing of the visitor trail, which luckily didn't kill anybody. But this was a challenge that I was asked to see if I could do. And the biggest challenge of this was that the base of it was 19 feet in the air. And so I thought, oh boy, so I gave it about a month to figure out how I was going to support this repair, and especially by next to the visitor trail. This was really a challenge. So anyway, we had to put the two pieces together with a stainless steel rod. So I think it was Ellen Trotner that helped me on that trip, putting the pieces together. So we put it into a speleo clamp. So that was the piece right there. The joint was right about a foot from the end. So that's cured for about a month. And so then we came back, and so the challenge was to put it onto the ceiling. And I'm standing right there on the visitor trail to give you an idea how close it is. So here's my little invention, and I call it the Stalactite Jack Max. So it's a 3/4 inch all thread into a PVC shaft, and the bottom is I think I think it was a 10-foot long, 2-inch rigid piece of metal conduit. And that's the only way we could get this close to the ceiling. So you can see the ladder and how the challenge is we had to guy wire it in place. And so there is me and Minori Yoshida adjusting. She was adjusting the bolt while I was trying to attach the clamps up top. So I added a couple horizontal clamps on this too. So that way, if the bolt or the epoxy ever failed, at least it would hold it in place because it's right on over the visitor trail. So anyway, this is actually the cover of the book that I wrote on the same subject here, which we'll talk about later. But there's the piece hanging today. The challenge was not to break the stalactite right next to it. And we managed to do that and pull the thing off. So that's, if anybody, there's several people that know where this is by Caveman Junction on the visitor trail. And it was a wonderful thing to see that hanging again. So the next thing was we asked to go, Aaron Lynch had contacted me saying that they had us information that apparently was broken by Brad Pitt and his entourage when they were there in around 2017. Apparently a boom operator knocked into a stalactite, which was almost 4 feet long, and smashed it. Now, the late Jim Worker and Val Hildreth Worker were asked to do a repair there back then. So they put it together, put it back on the ceiling. Well, it was found laying in the trail 2 years ago. And so this is in King's Palace. So Aaron asked me to come back and see if I could try to piece it together and repair it. So I noticed right away there was no bolts in it. So the challenge was to put stainless steel rods in each one of these pieces before it was got back to the ceiling. So you can see what it looks like when I'm drilling it right there. It's really pretty fragile, but I was able to put stainless steel bolts in all 7 joints. So this is actually how small some of those were. And so it was really a challenge, but I was really worried about splitting it, but it didn't split. So that's us assembling it right there next to the trail. And see, I have a problem with these floating controls coming back here. Hold on. That's what it looked like when we had it together with the stainless steel bolts. And so then we had to keep it upright while we did the epoxy. So the next challenge, I left it to the folks in the group, and they came up with 3 stalactojacks in the speedio clamp and holding it in place with some for survey flagging. So that's what they came up with. I don't think we named it, but that was it being held. So we didn't come back for another couple of weeks. And I wanted to include as many of the park rangers as I could. So the interpreters, I think I had 22 people in all on 5 trips to get this done. But I wanted to make sure that they conclude it because they'd be talking about that when they go through the King's Palace trip. So here we are getting ready to put it into place. I think that's Dan Pollock on the right, me on the left, trying to attach the ceiling clamps to it. But anyway, that was a major effort. So you can see the very strange looking device to support this. It's a 2-inch rigid metal conduit, all threaded stalactojack with a big cup, and the base has a speedio clamp. And also I had to use a 2-inch platform to bridge that slanted rock right in front of where Dan's standing, because it wouldn't set on there. It would just slide off. So this is right on the visitor trail. So this is what it ended up looking like. So we left it in place for several weeks after that to make sure the epoxy cured and all the bolts and everything. And so this is a visitor trail. The King's Palace is a ranger guided trip. And so, they kept track of this to make sure nobody would touch it. But we came back in on the final trip and removed the stalactojack. And so there's the piece. So you can see the blue lines that I've got there. That shows you the length of it. That's it back upright again, and it won't go anywhere now because it's got the stainless steel rods in it. So that's something to talk about. But yeah, if you want to look up on the GQ magazine, you can find the Brad Pitt photo shoot when this all happened. It didn't show the broken formation, but it showed the shoot. So we checked it out just for factual purposes. So in the music room, we found many formations that were broken there, actually either accidentally or deliberately, and it's called the music room because apparently the Rangers used to go back in there in the 50s and 60s or whenever it was and hit on the formations to make tones. Now, if anybody's been in Luray Caverns back east in Virginia, there's a stalactopipe organ there that has little mallets that hit these to make sounds and songs. Well, apparently these were just hit with a hammer. And I was told that there's a actual video or YouTube of a ranger hitting one of these formations and it breaking. And so anyway, we've been working for the last 5 or 6 years piecing them all together. Well, this is one of the devices that Tristan Gleason, who's going to be speaking later, came up with. So she supported this. It had multiple broken pieces, and one was stained by being in a pool. But that just shows you the innovation that a lot of these folks can to muster up and come up with how they repair things, and I love it. So here it is after we removed all that device that she had set up, and so then another one in the room is this tall jack that we had set up to do a couple repairs. So you might see right above Joe's red helmet, there's another section that's wet right there. We had repaired that on a previous trip. I think Jacob and a few other folks are in on that, but we've been in here quite a few times. But anyway, we're constantly finding new matches and doing the repairs there. So um, it's been, a fun event, and we've probably repaired, I think, close to 89 formations in that room so far. And so then came Slaughter Canyon Cave. So Aaron Lynch got a hold of me and asked me if I could possibly go up to Slaughter Canyon Cave and repair this weird shaped stalagmite that had been attempted before, but um, it fell over, and I'll show you why. Whoever did it before used this tiny little stainless steel flexible rod right here in front of this big one we set up. So that's why it collapsed. It wasn't strong enough to hold it in place. So we put a 3/4 inch, 8-inch long all thread in the base of it. And so that helped. In fact, we didn't even need to use epoxy on this one, but we did. But that's what we used to stabilize it. So that's us drilling. The thing was too big. The two pieces are too big for the speleo clamp, so we had to lay it on there. But I didn't weigh those either. I wish I had now. But we put the stainless steel rods in. That's the assembly right there. So this shows you how odd shaped it was. It was top heavy, but the stainless steel rods kept it in place. So we guy wired it and came back about 2 or 3 weeks later and removed the guy wires, and it held firmly. And that's it today. And we noticed there was a little face right here that's on the side of that. I mean, at least it resembles that, we thought. So anyway, so good job by all on that one. That was a really technical one. And so then I got contacted by Erin again. She said that they had a piece of drapery that was broken in Spider Cave. So I had no idea how big this thing was. So I said, okay, well, we'll go in and did a recon trip. And so this time I started using a scale. I got a fish scale that I could weigh these formation repairs with. And so we weighed this one, and this was 54.45 pounds. So you can see it barely fit into the speleo clamp. So we already installed the stainless steel rod in that. Problem is, this was 8 feet in the air. Okay, so I asked her if we could possibly set this up on a step ladder, and she goes, no, because it's not rated for probably the weight of the people and the formation. So I had a dilemma. I thought, how are we going to raise this 8 feet safely and put the piece into the ceiling and line it up with the stainless steel bolt? So I had a little brainstorming, and I came up with a device I named the Speedio crane. There's the Speedio crane hoisting that 55-pound piece into the air. So it worked just like a charm. I wanted to make sure it was stainless steel and PVC and had a crank on it, and that's how we got it in place. And that's the jack holding the piece in place. And so the joint is right there. So you can see we've since camouflaged that, but the big drum roll came when we took that down. There it is hanging there free. So that was a really great thing too. I remember we had to take the speedo crane apart to get it through the crawlway, a spider, but it was another successful repair. And then came lake room. So Hunter Klein had asked me if I could maybe start a project back up or start one up in Lake Cave. And so this is in Slaughter Canyon, which it ended up being quite a little hike, about 3.2 miles and 1,200 feet of elevation gain. So we went up there on a recon trip, and then we did some repairs on smaller formations, but we walked right by this one. And I think it was John Cochran that said, look, that looks like it matches, this base where it came from. And it's not a stalagmite, it's a piece of actual undissolved bedrock, which we found a lot in that cave. If you've been in Lake Cave, you'll know a lot of the formations are really ghostly in there. So I took the little fish scale, which rated for 110 pounds. And so we got it slinged up, and that's Emily after she'd helped us sling it. And I went to pull up on it, and it broke the scale. So that weighed over 110 pounds. So we were determined to get that repaired. So we team lifted it in place and I think we put an all thread in that one too. But anyway, so we epoxied it. That's the epoxy being put in place. And there's the repair. And so we use some wet mud. That's what you see for the joint right there to put it in place. But there's actually, if I go back one slide, whoops, there's the his chisel marks and the hammer marks that was used to break it off. So it wasn't a natural break. In fact, everything we do not do natural break repairs. So then this is Devra Heyer and Liz Shelley. I told them if you can do this repair, then go for it. So they named it the Baby Shark because it ended up looking like a shark fin. So they're putting in the stainless steel bolt there, and that's the repair. So you can see the joint right here. That's Baby Shark repaired. And good job, folks. And so then this whole curtain right behind where we're standing of all these draperies are smashed deliberately. Pieces are all laying on the floor. And so this is the challenge now we're having. We've been there 4 or 5 trips now. The Aggies Grotto came up with this they got this last March, and we did a number of repairs there too. But we're just continuing on. That's a couple stalactite set up on some of the matches we have done. But yeah, it's a ongoing thing. It's going to outlive me, I'm sure. So I hope the Aggies Grotto or some other group wants to take this over. Please do. So BLM caves. So there's the 3 we work on. So this is the first one in Little Manhole that I think it was Ellen Trotner or somebody had asked me to come down and do this repair. And so there was one broken stalactite in there. And so we went in there, and that's a really neat cave. I've never been there before, but we ended up putting a stainless steel pin in it. So you can see the rod right there sticking out. And so this was probably the first use of the threaded stalactite jack that I had made before I went to the spring model. So this is it. Whoops. This is it set up. So I used a threaded rod and a nut, and a wing nut to turn and tighten this up like a jack, like a screw jack. And that's became a tedious thing to do. So that's where I came up with the spring-loaded stalactite jack later. But anyway, that's it hanging free. So you can see it's been dry for a long time, and the upper part is still wet. But you can see it's starting to get wet now. And if somebody gets back into the little manhole, please let me know how that looks, because if it's been wet or not, I'm really curious to see it. So here's Fort Stanton. So these were cleaned completely off. Somebody had gone through this lake room and knocked every one of these off. And so it was Ron Lipinski, the Fort Stanton Cave Study Project Director, and Pete Lindsley, who asked me during one of the San Diego Grotto meetings if I would start a project up in Fort Stanton. Well, sure. I was love to start up new stuff. But we went in there and we faced all these were broken. So our first trip, we set up, we had matched 5 of them and did 5 stalactite jack or 6 stalactite jack supports there for them. But we were, just overwhelmed with all these different broken pieces. So this is another one, stalagmite that we worked on, and I think Newt Peterson took this photograph. But we had to drill a hole. Actually, these pieces were found down in the pit behind us. So one of the folks retrieved these and brought them back up. And so we had to drill the stainless steel hole, the bolts for the stainless steel pins. So that's the middle section. That's the top section. So we have pins in both. And so that's putting the epoxy on. I used quite a bit of epoxy right there. And that's it completed. Now notice you'll see all the hammer marks used to smash this on. This room is full of chisel marks of this happening. So we don't know how long ago. It could have been 100 years ago. There's actually a signature in there from a soldier for 1855. So we don't know. We don't know where it happened, but the majority of probably 90% of the formations in there have been chiseled off. So uh, um, we were asked to actually leave the chisel marks there. We're going to try to cover them up, but as a teaching tool for the future. So here's what it looks like to put together the pieces of another stalagmite that was smashed. These pieces were all found about 20 feet away from the base. Here's the chisel marks on another one. So you can see these weren't natural breaks. These were somebody I can't imagine they left the pieces in there too. It's like they had a vendetta against the cave or something to go in there and do all this smashing. So we've been going in there for about 5 or 6 years, matching and repairing stuff, but it's an ongoing process. And so this is, I think this was Tristan too. She started finding pieces. Now, notice this flowstone has got signatures in it. Those are back in the 1800s, so we, leave them be. But she found all these pieces in the mud, and so she started matching them and putting them up. So we're still working on that flowstone base today with these stalactijacks. So here's two happy folks, one of which is Jenna. That's their first stalactijacks they set up, her and Josie, and they made these on their own, and they're holding a repair there, which held very firmly. We've took down those since then. But it's a great, pleasing feeling to match a piece and then make a device up to set it up and have it work. And so we use now for many information repairs, we use the super glue and the butane heater to quickly cure it. So you can only use the butane. That's more of a safer alternative than anything else. And the super T super glue is the only kind that we can use. You don't want to use any of the cheap stuff because it'll off gas. This stuff does not when heat's applied to it. And so here is the pool fingers. Now you can see all the smash marks. Somebody went down to this pool area and took a hammer and started beating on all these. So this is Kat, who'll be talking later, repairing some of the pool fingers. This is a challenge. These little pool fingers are yellow and small, but we're putting them back together. And so I think this was Chelsea working on some crust there. So we're doing crust repairs too. So this is again like a puzzle being put together. So here was a pretty interesting trip. So I had done a presentation to the Girl Scout troop in Albuquerque on how to do formation repairs, and they had asked me to come in and do a little talk about that and restoration. So I did a workshop, and they said, "Can we go to a cave?" And so I didn't know of a cave that would allow, number one, folks less than 18 years old for the voluntary service agreement, and two, the amount of people we had, I think there was 12 of them. Well, Ellen Trotner got special permission to do this and set up a permit, so we took the Girl Scouts in to do a repair trip. And this was just so nice because they really got into it. So I started off by explaining to them what we're going to do, what our goals were. And so they're a captive audience, and one was already trying to make a stalactijack. So here's two of them using the butane heater and putting up a cross piece that was broken. And they were pretty focused on that. Of course, it held fine. And so here's two other or three others working on another. They'd match these, and they're doing the repairs on their own. And see the happy faces? That was just so rewarding to watch this because they were able to make repairs like this. And, I thought it was just great. And so here's the high five of them doing another repair here. And so, oh, I thought I'd done the picture there too. But anyway, it was really nice to see their teamwork. So here's the privately owned caves that we worked in. And so again, these were all by invitation to this project and me. And so I solicited help to people that cavers in the area. So this was quite a variety of repairs we did here. So the Cave of the Winds. Now Dan Sullivan had got a hold of me. He'd bought my book and got a hold of me through the contact there. And so he brought it down in a special carrying case, part of this 12-foot long broken stalactite in Cave of the Winds. And so we put it together, and actually this is the joints that were concealed on it, so you can see how long it was. It was actually in my workbench. And so he brought it back up to Colorado. And the next weekend, I was there just to kind of oversee if they needed any help. And so here is actually putting the piece together with the base of it. And so that's Dan and them holding it tightly. But this, you can see it's 12 feet long total. So I think I couldn't talk anybody else into drilling that hole. So I was really reluctant to drill into that long upper piece, but we did it. And so there's a null stainless steel rod there. So here we are drilling the broken piece that's for the stainless steel pin. And so our stalactijack was set up right there. And here's tr a trial by error, or innovation kind of gets corrected here. So I thought those orange flagging would be good guy wires for a heavy for repair. Guess what? During the night, it settled and it stretched, and so the joint bent and came apart, and epoxy cured in one spot. And it was off on an angle. So I had to get back to home, so I just suggested, since we didn't have any speleo splints there, that Dan and the rest could use a speleo splint on it, and just break it and repair it. So that's the speleo splint in place after the second try on this. And so Dan came up with a very clever idea with using a car jack and a little device to hold it tightly. So that repair was done, and that's it today. Very well done, guys. Good job. And we know now not to use flagging for guy wires. Um, so this was in Bethlehem Cave. So I taught a steel repair workshop in Rapid City at the convention, and we had Bethlehem Cave set up as a field trip. So I took all of the people that participated in the class into the cave for field trips so they could try out their skills that they had learned. So there they are using the HEPA vacuum. So this is another device that we use to recover the dust, to use for camouflage for the joints on a white formation, but also it takes the silica dust out of the air. So for those of you not sure what the acronym HEPA stands for, you probably hear it a lot. It's high efficiency particulate air filter. So I'm a HVAC tech, retired, so I kind of found that out. But anyway, so that's us working on that and them drilling the holes. Here's Kirsten, who I think is on this Zoom meeting, putting that in place. You can see the stainless steel pin right there. And there's the repair completed today. So there was another one further down that was a really challenging thing. So it was a little broken piece of crust, I think, from this bedrock. And so I let them come up with a solution, and they used two different stalactojacks to put it in place. And so there's the repair, and it held firmly. And then the next January, I was asked by Gretchen Baker to do a workshop up there, and that was attended by almost 40 people. We ended up doing it over 2 days. And so everybody learned how to use the hammer drill and the different devices, the speedo clamp. There's them using the HEPA. And so they set up their own stalactojacks. And so it was really kind of cool because Kirsten had used my book to build her own stalactojacks. And so she had them already made when we got up there, which I thought that was wonderful. And they've got flagging on them, this colored tape. Great idea, dear Kirsten. That was pretty cool. But there's some happy people after they did the repair. And then the next year, well, actually the same year, Hamilton Cave, it was a speleothem repair workshop field trip. So there's these folks setting up the repairs in there, matching what they had learned in the classroom. And so, actually, this was an interesting thing. The Hamilton Cave is owned by the NSS as a preserve, John Gooley Preserve, and it was 63 miles away from the convention site. So we made two different field trips because two folks couldn't attend it. So that's them working on a repair a stalagmite that they had matched, and that's them after they had done it. And they never did a repair before in their life, and there they are. Excellent job. I got a nice stainless steel pin in there and everything. And then the next year was when we had the convention in Tennessee. This is the field trip. So here's these folks using what they learned in the classroom to actually make repairs to these different formations that they had matched. And so there's one of the repairs done, and there's a happy person that's seeing the repair done. And let's see, here's another one being done by some more folks. So it was great to watch them do this because they had never probably touched a hammer drill in their life. And they made these repairs, and there's using the epoxy on it to put around the pin that they put in. And how it fit together was perfectly right afterwards. So that was great to see. And then Caverns of Sonora. So I was asked to come down there too to look at a couple ways to maybe they're considering a prosthetic wing for the broken butterfly wing that was vandalized back quite a while ago. So we already have one thanks to Lois Mano. She came up with a prosthetic wing, and they want us to install it as soon as they can decide if they want to do that or not. If they want to go and leave it naturally broken or otherwise. So that's where that's at. So we've repaired other formations that day. So here's a stalagmite that I'm holding. That's it repaired. So here was the match that was made by the folks that were with me this past January. And so I think that's Matt or Tobin. Somebody's holding that match. So they made that match themselves. Set the Jack up that they'd learned how to build. And so that was wonderful because they came back a month or two later, or I guess April, and did some more work on their own, which I'll show you in a minute. So here's Matt drilling a hole for the stainless steel rod. And that's after the deck was put in place and the epoxy was put in. So that that held clean, I think, fine. I can ask Tobin later, but yeah, that worked well. And so then Rushmore Cave, I was asked to come up and show the folks that work there how to do repairs so they can do them on their own. So I went up there. I forgot what year it was. I think it was 22, just before the convention. And so maybe it's 21. Anyway, so they've learned how to do this repairs on their own. So they're doing this particular repair, and they made their own jack for it. These are people that work there, and they set this jack up, and they put this sign up. So it's kind of cool. They left that up as a talking point for a while, I think, so they could tell the visitors what was going on. So that was another nice repair, and good job, guys. And so before you start your own project, um, we have to carefully concern um, the air at work area we're going to be in. Okay, so you have to figure safety first of all. It's not near a drop off or a pit or somewhere you're going to be damaged, other formations. Also the cave biota. You don't want to damage them and have any step on any critters. How is it going to affect the bats? You know, if there's a colony nearby, don't do it. But if there's a pot that it looks good and you can make that decision as you start your project, then you can go further. And then you need to get the permissions. So to do these projects, you have to get permissions with from the cave management, remember? So I have a volunteer service agreement in place with the Park Service, Forest Service, and the BLM. And so that's necessary because that covers everybody that participates on the project for workman's compensation in case there's an injury, but also make sure you've got their permission to go in there and do work to begin with. But I've never had a problem. They've invited us in there and they love our work, and we've included them on a lot of different projects to come and participate too. So once that's established. So don't try any of these repairs without proper training because we can easily train you, and all the people that have worked with me know how to do this properly and safely. But first and foremost is remember what I said in the beginning, use the proper PE, including nitrile gloves. Don't grab them barehanded, and because it leaves a film on the formations as well as bacteria and other things. So always use clean nitrile gloves for epoxy and handling. And then the dust mask, if you're going to do any drilling, remember that's silica dust. So if you don't have access to a HEPA vac, use an N95 dust mask or a respirator and hearing protection for when you're drilling. So that can be a little noisy. And so here's a typical volunteer service agreement. So this is one I have in place. This is actually an older one with the Park Service, I believe. And so it's numbered. And so all the participants get to, they have to sign it and they have to say they give permission for the photographs to be used. And, they have to sign it. And that way it's kept on file. So these are good for a year. So count for actually fiscal year, usually from October 1st to September 30th or close to that. So here are the adhesives that were recommended by the Conservation Division of the NSS. So to buy the epoxy cure 2 and the resin and hardener, it's a little over $400 the last I purchased it, and you have to have an account with Bueller. You can buy the super glue, the super glue online on Amazon for about $30 for 3 bottles. So that works really well, except under wet and cold conditions. So that's something that I was really wrestling with for a while. But anyway, to get to the tool section of this presentation. So here's the different tools that I or others have invented to make the process easier and more efficient. So I kind of had a flair for wanting to name something after Speleo. I thought that would be good, but there's other stuff there that doesn't have the preface of Speleo on it. But it was kind of fun to name these different devices that ended up working so well. So this epoxy is something I use in woodworking. Okay, so I was using this way before I started this project, and it was safe to handle once it's cured. Like I use it for pepper grinders and wooden bowls. So again, it takes about 15 minutes to cure. It's a 50-50 ratio, and you can get it on Amazon for about $10. And so it's primarily for wood. Well, I thought I'd try it in a cave situation. So I did a lot of vetting first. I did some stuff working with concrete and putting rocks together outside, and I was able to adhere to bond rocks that are dissimilar in 40-degree Fahrenheit and 100% humidity when it was raining. So I knew it worked well there, and I actually did it with some other insects around outside at the house, and it worked just fine. So the advantage of this is it works in more humid, colder environments. So tools that we use, here's a part of our toolkit. So you can see we have a variety of things. So we've got the hammer drill, the bits, and all the different things. The Buhler epoxies over there, a hacksaw, sometimes if we have to cut the stainless steel bolts. So what we use for stainless steel rods is simply stainless steel bolts that you buy at Home Depot or Lowe's, and then we use a pair of bolt cutters to cut the heads off and cut them to length. And there's the fish scale we use to weigh the formations. There's the bolt cutters, and so forth. And that's the one slide of two. Here's the rest of it. Stainless steel wire. You can get that on Amazon for about 30 bucks for a spool, but it's great because it doesn't corrode. And so you've got all these other different tools there too. The applicators for the epoxy you can get at Harbor Freight. They're just really parts brushes, but they work very well for epoxy. And so here's the only way we can actually drill a hole in a formation that has a concave or a convex surface to it is to put a little dent in it with a Dremel drill and a cone-shaped stone. And because otherwise, if you don't have a perfectly flat surface, the hammer drill is going to vibrate and drift away from the hole where you want to put the stainless steel pin. So we use the cone-shaped bit to put a little dent, so that way the hammer drill or the diamond drill doesn't drift on it. And so I was really not privy to doing tile work. And so I have a friend that bought my book in Australia. And he asked me, he said, well, have you ever considered using diamond bits that they use in floor laying for tile? And I said, heck no, I never even gave it a thought. So I bought a set of them. And so it ended up working so well that we can now drill holes in much smaller formations without using the hammer drill part of it, just simply on the regular drill and just very easily drilling into a formation to put a stainless steel pin. And we can go down to 3/32 or something like that. So it's very easy to drill and careful to drill. And it works like a charm. So you should add this to your toolkit. So another thing I had is I did a impact mapping project for the Forest Service back in 98 to 2002, where I came up with a color-coded scheme to show the impact of restoration and how it worked. And so I used the same color scheme here to draw a map of the area we're working in and mark all the broken formations. And then I use the green color to show the ones that have been repaired. So this goes over to the cave management so they can use this as a device for later on justifying the volunteer hours that are being put in for their repair projects. So it's a great tool to show how progress you've made. So this was in the coat table room. It's a sketch I made. And then this is the cantina room on the other side of the cave in second parallel. So it's a great representative to show people how the project is coming along and how much progress we're making. So I also thank goodness for Todd Roberts at the time. He knew how to do LiDAR scans. So that's the cantina room sketch that we had made after we surveyed it. And that's the LiDAR scan of the room. Lower right is the pool in there. And so it's interesting. So the thought is that they can someday adapt this to matching formations in the ceiling. So I would love to see new generations come up with ideas on how this would work, because I'm sure that they could maybe make a like photogrammetry. I know Michael's online and he's probably got a real good idea on how to make this work in the future. So hands off to anybody who can do that. So we used the Dremel heater to start with to clean off and dry off formations that we wet and cleaned the mud from. So it was after that that we found we could use it on the adhesive. So here is how we dry off the base of the formation before we apply the epoxy. And it works well. It's a butane powered heater, doesn't have a flame, and you can dry off these pretty quickly when they're wet. So also we can seal all our joints. So as soon as we put the epoxy on, we try to take the cave floor or drill dust and put a little water to it and add it to the joint to conceal the joint. So this is a before picture, and that's an after. There's the joint concealed. So that way the intent is to not have any joint showing when we do our repairs, and so it works quite well. And we use the natural dirt of the cave, we're not bringing any materials in, and just water. And so here's the Dremel heater used to repair actually an 8-inch long piece. And at the end of this stalactite, it worked very well. And so we use this now. We actually suggest people carry it in their toolkit, some super T adhesive and a Dremel heater. So if you see anything broken that's small in a cave, you can fix it right away without having to make a special trip. And let me just get rid of these things, controls. Okay, so then the stalactijack. So here's the idea I had was to use the threaded rod at first, which doesn't work well when you're trying to unthread that bolt when you've got a formation that's pretty delicate that you just repaired about a month before that. So I was changing a shower curtain at home, and as most of you know that have done that, you can retract the shower curtain because it's spring loaded. I thought, I wonder if I can use that curtain rod to do that with. Well, it probably would have corroded right away being metal and all. So I simply took some PVC and a spring that I had at home and built one that looked like a shower curtain rod, but I named it the stalactijack because it was going to jack the stalactite in place as we're doing the repairs. So this is what it looks like. You can see this is actually a brainchild. The graphics were done by Newt Peterson. So he took one of my stalactijacks and made this beautiful graphic. So here we are using the diagram to show how they work. So I'm going to try to, this is a video that was taken, I don't know if it's Tobin or somebody, but I think this is going to work if I click on it. I hope. And if it doesn't, forgive me, but I don't see it working. Oh, that's too bad. It's a video of how the stalactijack is applied. Sorry, folks. I wasn't sure that was going to work. All right. So when we set up multiple stalactijacks, like here in the cantina room, we actually named it Stalactijack City. So you can see there's a multitude of repairs being done, and that's actually right here, Speleo Cup, Stalactijacks. And here is some of the ones we put together, but we haven't matched the ceiling yet. You can see how somebody just went crazy in this room and smashed everything. It was so sad, but we're working on it. And so here we're using the Dremel tool to clean off some old adhesive, which I understand was Elmer's glue way back a long time ago. And it had a carbon steel nail that had corroded away. So we removed that and put a stainless steel rod in place. But the Dremel drill you can get online for probably 50 bucks at Amazon. And so in order to mark these formations for drilling, so here's a little concept we came up with that we could use a Q-tip and fingernail polish. So we drill a pilot hole, cut the Q-tip off so it's just sticking up barely from the surface there, and we want to mark the corresponding drill hole on the ceiling or the other piece. So we put the cotton swab or the Q-tip down in the hole, put fingernail polish on it, put the two pieces together carefully, and then when you take them apart, here's the drill hole. So you match and it takes a little skill to drill them straight enough to have it match, but this is our method of marking the formations that way. And so usually we would take a piece of formation, look at the ceiling and walk around to these multiple stubs, try to find a match that way. Well, Todd Roberts, he came up with this beautiful idea to make this thing for his camera where he would mount this scale and take a picture of the formation in color and to scale, and then transpose it onto a piece of photographic paper. And there you are. Instead of holding the one single piece and walking around with a crick neck for 2 or 3 hours, we can hold a piece of paper up. You can see the color matching there. This has been very effective. So we've done this in several caves now, and it worked very well. So I highly applaud Todd for coming up with that idea of ways to match formations because it can be a long process. Here's the HEPA vacuum, what it looks like. So you can get this online too. It's meant to cleaning like car interiors, but it has that HEPA replacement filter right there. And so here we are. You see no dust. It's just showing that we're covering the dust, and then we're using it later for camouflage and formations. And so the Speedio clamp, this safely holds the piece while we're doing a drilling for a stainless steel rod. And so here's Jen Foote. She comes in once a year to give us a hand, and it's wonderful because she gets to see how this work is going. But you can see how many broken pieces there are in the Speedio rack. This is another invention of mine. So we had to add more pieces to it. But that holds the pieces together while we've epoxied them, keeps them upright. And so here's the Speedio cup. So you won't get sick of the Speedio word, I promise you. We're going to adapt other things. But this is it being held in place. There's the joint. And this is after we're ready to take it apart. And that's the joint after it's repaired. So here's another Speedio cup being used. So we use usually rubber bands and little aluminum wire to easily bends. And we take it off, and that's what it looks like there. And so the next was a Speedio tray that you saw in that pink dragon photograph. So it keeps the epoxy from leaking onto the floor when you're joining these longer pieces together. Speedio splint. So this keeps the two pieces lined up while the epoxy is clearing. Now notice these little pieces that I added to it. You just simply cut a piece of PVC on a bandsaw and then add these to it so that way the epoxy joint goes in the middle and it doesn't touch the PVC and bond itself to it. And so here's the Speedio splint using on the joints on all the ones that you saw earlier. And the soda straw clamp stand. So we're able to put soda straws back up without even having to hold them in our hands. And so that's very effective. We've, I think, used that about a dozen times now in the Coke table room. And so we repaired a couple of Coke tables, and that's another device I invented to hold the pieces in place. So a Coke table clamp. And there's the Speedio crane. So you saw that in an earlier picture, but that's very effective. We used that in 2 different cave situations, and I think we might use it in Lake Cave. We have a big heavy one to lift in place. So another thing that works well. And the Speedio rake. And so what came out of that for retrieving pieces that were thrown in deliberately into the pools? Speedio fishing. So there you go. I don't know who came up with that one of the group, but that was cool. So we had to retrieve these because in Cottonwood, the people that broke them threw them into the pools, not only the cantina room, but the Coke table room. So we retrieved probably 50 or 60 of them this way. And so we have a lot of formations that, especially in Hidden Cave, that had been dripping for quite a while and had new growth on them. And so we kind of considered the stainless steel rods wouldn't let water pass through them. So Todd Roberts once again thought about stainless steel tubing. We got some and tried that out. And so what we do is we use the Dremel grinder to clean off the new growth if we have a matching piece that fits perfectly. And so we tried that out, and that's the pieces when we're doing the drilling. This is when the stalactite was set up. There's the piece against the ceiling right there, being held in place. And there's the piece hanging now. It's got water passing through it, dripping off the end. So that was a major innovation that we come up with to deal with letting water pass through the joints of a repaired piece. And here are the drop-in anchors, the stainless steel anchors. So you use these on the completely wet formation, so that way you don't have to worry about how much is dripping and drying it off. We can put those in very easily. Here's how we cut off the heads for the stainless steel bolts to use for the stainless steel pins. And that's putting them in place. So again, you saw this earlier. You have to tap it with a setting tool to spread the little fingers of the anchor in place. But as the drip is happening, it doesn't affect it at all. It's worked very well. Here's another clever device that was designed or come up with by Dan Sullivan. So how do you clean helictites and very sensitive soda straws and other things without touching them with an actual brush and breaking them? He came up with an idea of this ultrasonic cleaning. That's a vibrating sander up against a bucket of water with a piece inside of it. And I'm going to show you how well that works. So here is a before shot of a dirty formation before cleaning. That's it afterwards. Didn't have to have anything touch it, no brushes, and it works very well. And actually, I put that in my book. I love these new innovations. So the third edition of my book has this in it and describes it. And so for the workshop participants, this is how they use the wooden formations that I created on my lathe to learn in the installation procedures in a classroom setting before they actually go on a field trip. And here's the stalactocrutch. I'm throwing this again because it's part of the tools. And here's the curtain clamp adapter that I knew that we'd have someday some bacon to fix. And we do actually have a piece that's missing in Caverns of Sonora that if we find the piece, this is what we're going to use to hold it in place. Both these bolts are spring-loaded at the top, and that's the way we're going to hold the piece in place. So that I don't have any pictures showing it but being done, but the tool's there. Speleo ring. So that's how we hold the pieces together with a speleo cup while they're being cured, with the epoxy's curing. And so to date, this going into the people section of this, so we've had 276 people who have worked on the project. And so it's great that we've had employees that work for the BLM, Forest Service, and Park Service have come across and worked in different agencies on volunteering their time. This isn't paid. This is all volunteers. And I just love the fact that 38 of them have gone and done this. So they can actually take this back and talk about the process and procedures to their other folks. And the ranges from 9 to 76 that have been on the projects. The 9 years old are the Girl Scouts, and 76 was another person. I'm 71, but I had somebody that was older than me on one of the trips. So that's the range. So we celebrated different milestones. Here's trip number 50 for the CFRP. So we made a big deal. This was in Cottonwood Cave. So I had no idea we'd go that many past it. Then came 100. So this one happened to be in Cottonwood Cave too. Then along came 125. I never believed this, but so I kind of like to buy these oatmeal raisin cookies, and then have somebody use the birthday cake frosting to make the number on it, and a plaque with that we all signed how many the people that participated on it too. So that's that's going on. There's 150. So we're at 166 now, 167. So I guess the next milestone might be by the end of this year. So here's a lake cave trip. So the Aggies Grotto asked me to put on a series of trips for them for when they came back during spring break in March this year. And so I got special permission from Hunter and the park to allow 12 people on that trip. This is all of us in front of Lake Cave. The lake room and the lake in Lake Cave. And so guess what? When we hit 1,000 repairs, I just had to do something about that. So I talked with different folks, and they thought probably Carlsbad Caverns would be the best place to have it. So I spoke to Joanne Garcia, who was the volunteer coordinator. Can we do this in the cave? And well, she thought it was a wonderful idea. So I assembled about 20 people that had been, multiple members on different trips, and asked them if they wanted to be on the 1000th trip. And so they all did. So this is us preparing for it. And this is in the Queen's Chamber in Carlsbad Caverns. So here we have a couple of folks putting and mixing the epoxy. So I gave everybody a different task. So they'd have a piece of this. Some people are going to use this, set up the stalactijack. Some are going to put the epoxy in. Some are going to set the stalactijack up. And so everybody had a little hand in this. So here's the party of setting up the stalactijack under the 1000th pair. That's stalactite in place. We had some tall folks in that one. I didn't qualify, so I was right next by watching. So there I am standing next to that repair when it was done. Now we went back about, 2 or 3 weeks later, and some more folks from the park came in and we took it down, but I don't have any shots of that right now. So here's the group photo of when we did that 1000th repair. So one of the things I like to recognize people that participate in the project is I bought a bunch of t-shirts, and I, have these to give to the people. Everybody that attends my project gets a t-shirt. So you can see some of these folks are wearing them there. So it's a great little thank you for the folks that are doing this work. And so here are the workshops that I taught and the field trips. So I've shown you most of the field trip work. Now you're going to see the classroom sessions. So here was the 1 and 22 that I taught. So this shows everybody learning how to use a stalactijack and how to build them. And there's the trainer in the background. People are using that to learn how to set them up before we go in the cave to do actual work. And so I was also asked to talk to the JSS, the Junior Speleological Society, that year. And so they were captive audience. They just loved to hear what we did and how we did it. So I was very glad to share that with them. And so here's the 23 convention workshop. There's the HEPA vacuum, and they're using wooden dowels and pieces of wood to learn how to do the drilling and with a speedio clamp. And so here they're learning how to match I made a bunch of concrete formations too, which I broke in half and let people assemble them and match them up on a table. So it gives them a chance to do that before they get in the cave. And this is the one up in Great Basin National Park. It was in January that year. And so this is the presentation. And this is folks working on, setting up the stalactijack, the clamp, rather, speedo clamp to do the drilling. And here's the one 24 in C1E, Tennessee. You can see the folks setting up and learning how to use stalactijacks. And this is a proud moment for them when they made some repairs on the concrete and wooden ones. And this is the one this year in Cobble School, New York. And so apparently there wasn't enough cave for a field trip for that. Apparently a lot of the caves have been so heavily vandalized there that the pieces are gone. So we did it in the classroom setting. And so everybody got a chance to learn how to do this. And so I made some extra concrete ones. So here we laid them out on the table so they could match them and then repair them later. So it was, it worked out well. And that's the classroom looking from the distance. And so this is an idea that one of the folks from Karstner Caverns, who had me come down there to do the little teaching for them not too long ago, actually. It was Chelsea Ballard that had me come down. And so we had the trainer inside the room there. And so I don't know which one of us thought about for soda straws, and instead of using a wooden dowel that would catch fire with that heater, simply cut one of the brushes we use, the chrome brushes. So that's the soda straw clamp, and using epoxy to bond it together with a heater, and it worked like a charm. Whoops. And so here's the employees there of Karstner Caverns learning how to drill into one of the broken formations they had there. And that's them putting it together. And that's how big that formation was, that they used that as a training tool that before they were able to fix it. Now they fixed it, so I don't know if they ever find out where it goes, they know how to put it into the cave. And that's the team right there of the staff that was there to work with me. And that's the repair on the counter there. That was kind of fun. So I've now if the speakers are getting ready to speak, here's the folks I've assembled. I think they're all on this Zoom meeting. So I'd like to go in alphabetical order, and I'm sure the butterflies are there. But folks, just talk about what the project has meant to you, or I know any feelings you have about the project or the folks you've worked with. And then I'll turn it over to you. So, Jenna, how do we want to do this? You want to just name them and have them speak? I guess I'll let you decide that.
Yeah, if y'all just kind of want to say when your spill is over, and then the next person can unmute and we can go from there.
All right, I
So,
guess I'm up. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
All right. Hi, everyone. I don't see my camera, but I'm assuming I'm on camera.
Yep.
This is Layla. I appreciate the time. Thank you, Mike. Great presentation. Covered a lot of very important things to me, why I love being with this project. So there's a good amount of us. I'm going to go quick. I'm just going to go through my top 5 reasons why I absolutely love having the privilege to be involved with this project. Number one, it's Mike. Mike is he is an incredible teacher. Jenna actually touched on this in the beginning when she introduced him. He is so positive, very supportive, and he's your greatest cheerleader. So when you're first learning how to do these things and picking up these tools that maybe you've never touched and have all this trepidation for, oh my gosh, am I going to make this worse? He's right there with you and really, really supportive, gives you that confidence. And that has been fantastic. I'm a learner. I love it. So that's been one of my favorite things is just getting to learn from Mike. The second thing that he's touched on, and I'm sure everybody is going to touch on as well, is the sense of satisfaction that I get when I can go into this beautiful environment and make it a little bit better than it was when I walked out. I've been caving for a while. A lot of us have been caving for a while, and I'm going to be honest and say in the beginning, it was all about the wonderment of caving. Now, I was careful, of course, following the rules. You don't want to break things, this and that. But being involved with this project and actually fixing some of the damage that has been done really gives you a different sense of ownership, I guess, in the activity that you're doing down there. So you're having this great time and you're learning and it's fascinating, but you are able to give back and again, just leave it a little bit better than you walked in. And that's a wonderful feeling. And it's really exciting to go back to a cave that you've done a fix on and you had these really great and innovative stalactojacks and clamps and all these things and go back and remove it and see that your work is there and how good it looks. So that's really exciting to do that. The third reason is going to be the people. I have not been on one single trip with Mike where I have not met the greatest, smartest, just coolest people. He has this gift of bringing these people together from all walks of life, all ages. You just learn so much and you can make some really great friends and have these great contacts. That's just a wonderful thing out there in the cave world and in the professional world and whatnot. So that is always it's always a pleasure to find out who's going to be on each trip and what new people I get to meet and learn from. The fourth thing that I really like about this is teaching. So I love to learn, but I also love to teach. So as we all know, the best way for you to really learn something is to keep teaching it to other people. And I learn again as I'm teaching these new groups that are coming through when I've had the opportunity to do so, a couple of the last conventions and in the caves. I learn from people, and it's wonderful because everybody has this individual perception when they come in, when they look at things, and their brains start working. And then, as Mike was saying, people start giving these suggestions and thinking of all these modifications or different ways to do something better. And that's just really exciting to just continually learning from each other. And then I guess the last thing I'll touch on before I turn it over to all the other great speakers is the ability to just travel to all these cool places and go and see these caves that maybe I wouldn't have the opportunity to go see otherwise, or even know that they were there. And then every time you go on these trips, and again, you meet these different people, you add these connections where that ripple in the pond just keeps going out. The sky is the limit. You just keep learning about more places to go, more people able to interact with, and you get to just really experience a lot of cool geographical places as well. There's a million things I could say about it, but I'm going to keep it at that so everyone else has a little bit of time. And I just want to say thank you guys for letting me talk. And Mike, thank you. It's been the greatest couple of years to be able to work with you and just get to sharing your knowledge and meet the people that you know. And I've loved it. So thank you.
Thank you, Layla. Okay, Jenna?
All right, howdy everyone. I'm not only the webinar chair, but I'm also a cave repair enthusiast. I actually have a little locket ring, if you can see that. And
Yeah.
that is me, Mike Mansur, Kyle, Ben, Josie, Jet. So basically my whole best friends in the world just repairing formations in the music room of Carlsbad. But I mostly want to touch on how CFRP and Mike interacts with me being a grotto leader. Um, I am currently the advisor for the Aggie Speleological Society, an Aggie Grotto affiliate. I've been the president and the secretary in the past. Jacob Denton and Josie Shaw and a lot of our other officers are on here as well. And it's wonderful for us to be able to send a group of kids with Mike and know that one, they're going to be responsible cavers, two, they're going to be in a positive learning environment, and three, um, they're going to have the opportunity to get excited and have hands-on experience. I will say every single person that has gone on a cave trip with Mike has stayed in the grotto until they graduated. Um, the sense of kind of ownership and responsibility um, that all of our cavers come back from New Mexico with after hanging out with Mike is really incredible. And it really kind of helps energize our grotto. Um, Me and Jet have started a graffiti workshop, or not workshop, but kind of trips into a cave here in Texas, and we hope to keep those going. And of course, there's many, many, many groups, small groups of Aggies that travel back and forth between New Mexico and College Station throughout the year. Which, mind you, these are college students on their long weekends driving roughly 12 hours, sometimes past Carlsbad, to go hang out with Mike, shirk homework and responsibilities. And so we think that's really incredible that we have such a group of young cavers really committed to this project and to seeing it go forward. Um, so it's just, yeah, it's an amazing project and opportunity to get connected with. And kind of what Layla was saying, I could say a million things. I have my own personal, um, reasons why I go. I will say that, caving with Mike has been pretty much all of my favorite cave trips. There's only a few of my top 10 cave trips where Mike wasn't there. So I feel like that really speaks volumes to how you feel before, during, and after the project is done. But I'll go ahead and turn it over to Jen Foot so she can continue.
Thanks, Jenna.
Okay. So yeah, I'm gonna keep my talking sort of short. I'm not a big talker, so and Lima's also gonna talk about a little bit for the Forest Service. But I just really wanted to thank Mike for running all these trips, taking so many new people caving, um, teaching them all restoration and how to volunteer. Our forest, we would not be able to get anything done in the caves without volunteers. Um, his dedication to the caves is greatly appreciated. Um, and yeah, it's he's just so inspirational to all of these new cavers, getting them out places that they wouldn't be able to go and introducing them to the caves. And it's just really amazing and great that he's giving so much to the caving community. And yeah, when I go on the trips with them, they're always fun and rewarding. Like we get things done. And you can see the changes throughout the years of all the work that's gone on. So yeah, thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Jen.
Can you
Tristan?
see me?
Oh, there you
Uh,
go. There you go.
Okay. Hi, I'm Tristan Gleason. I was lucky enough to go on a number of trips with Mike when both Anthony and I worked at Carlsbad Caverns. Like Jen, I'm not really a public speaker, or I'm not a public speaker, so I'll keep mine short. I'm always appreciative for all the different caves I got to go to with Mike. And one of the big things that I really liked about the formation repair is that it's kind of like a 3D puzzle. So you get to think about the shape, the color, the rings, and to put everything together is extremely rewarding. And I've always liked puzzles. So if other people are interested and they want to check stuff out, it's a whole new world underground. So that's kind of my main things. And I'm going to pass it over to Anthony. I'll slide the thing over a little bit.
Thanks, Tristan.
You're welcome.
Hey, good evening, everyone. Mike, it's really great to see you. I know it's been quite a while since we got to see face to face since Tristan and I moved away from New Mexico. For everyone that may not know me, my daily 9-to-5 job is with the National Park Service, and I was first introduced to Mike through my official duties with the NPS. And I'm one of the 30 or so individuals that were listed in the slideshow that volunteered on their days off to learn a little bit more about the project and the caves that we were interpreting and congressionally mandated to preserve and protect. So I just want to take a quick moment to talk about what that looks like from a public educator standpoint and the opportunities that the Cave Formation Repair Project has to influence park visitors. As several of the speakers already mentioned, we do get to venture to some really incredible places. Some of that is wild caving, but as Mike demonstrated in his photos in the presentation, so many of the repairs, whether they be in Carlsbad Caverns or Caverns of Sonora or some of the other showcase, happen within public view. Right? We're maybe working on these repairs as visitors are walking by, or the instruments like the stalactojacks are in place to offer some of those interpretive experiences. And there may be several folks here on the call or watching in the future that are in similar roles, or you may be a tour guide or a cave manager, and we may know that there's a common struggle in making a lasting impression. And people are visiting caves because they're really pretty and they offer such a unique recreational experience, but taking that a next step farther and making sure there's a lasting connection. Why does this matter? Why does preserving and protecting these fragile ecosystems matter in one's day-to-day life? So the Cave Formation Repair Project offers almost limitless potential to have those interpretive and educational opportunities. And I'm just very thankful to have been a part of it. So Mike, thank you so much. Jen, thank you. I know we've worked together quite a bit. Jenna, we've been on some trips before. Michael, you're coming up next. There's just so many familiar faces here on the call. So it's also good community building. So with that, I'll turn it over.
Thanks, Anthony.
All right. Well, I'm a kind of a long-winded individual, so I will try to keep this as concise as I can. So back in December of 2020, I had some unfortunate news and something that developed where I had a severe acute pulmonary fungal infection in my lungs. And it really took the wind out of my sails for quite some time. And it was just as I was starting to get on cave trips in New Mexico, having moved from Missouri. And I spoke with someone who I consider to be a little brother, Hunter Klein. And he had mentioned that Mike did these trips and, that I was able to get access into, the Forest Service caves and actually provide something that contributes back. And I was nervous at first because I had never met Mike before. So I kind of sent him a cold email and he responded to me. And I ended up on a Cottonwood Cave trip. And it had been about 6 months since I had been underground. And I probably should have waited a little bit longer because I was still struggling with some of my recovery. I was on some pretty serious medications and ended up on the Cottonwood trip and cleaned a lot of flowstone during it. And we were still wearing masks as it was COVID, as you could see in a lot of the pictures. You know, I had a buff on and, for at least a whole year's worth of trips. But from there, Mike allowed me to get signed up on more trips. And I found it incredibly rewarding. It got me back into my footing with a community and a sense of community that I had not gathered yet, right? You know, it takes time to establish with cavers, as it is a very esoteric type of activity that we do. We're strange individuals that like to go underground and stay underground for long periods of time. And nothing is more rewarding than when you have a task-based activity that involves collaboration with your group and you're coordinating and you're doing those type of things because you have a purpose while you're underground. Like, we all love to see beautiful formations and we love to see, passage that's booming and borehole and all those things. But what it really came down to is the sense of camaraderie that you get when you're on a team, right? And so we would go and solve those puzzles together, find, 4 pieces that were scattered about for whatever reason or another. And that satisfaction you get when you make the drill mark, that you got it lined up, you did your due diligence. And as someone that does that type of work for a living, that's got an extreme attention to detail, seeing that result and knowing that that result fixed an issue is incredibly rewarding. And getting to do that with my friends, and a lot of the people that I see on here are people that I would say have become close friends of mine. And that was all through the cave formation repair project. Again, it kind of gave me that second wind to really get back into caving and feel that vigor that I had before that I lost for quite some time. And so I think it's important that as we look into educating the future generations, another aspect of that too is that it's gotten them involved. I look at people like Jenna, I look at you, Anthony, I look at you, Tristan, and Kat, who is also on here. And all these different groups of people have come together and are able to achieve something. And then they also independently go off and do the projects on their own. So the education works, we pass it on. So I appreciate you, Mike. Like I said, that cold email saying, "Hey, I'm interested in doing this," as some random person, and you took me on, and from there it's blossomed, and nothing was also more satisfying than getting to show my family, my niece, and my nephew that a lot of the pictures that I had taken ended up in the book, and that was like the coolest thing ever to me. It's something that I always dreamt of. So thanks to everyone that always has been on the trips, and thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Michael. Appreciate that.
All right. I'm Tobin Simpson. Well, Tobin Taylor now, so I'm cutting in the alphabetical order a little bit.
Right.
But
Oh, yeah.
I am. I've really enjoyed my time with CFRP. I started caving a little later in life, and my background is I'm a historic preservation architect. So I have this love of graffiti removal and masonry repair. And now I'm getting to take those same skills and apply them in a caving context. And that is super duper special to me because I feel like it's my profession meeting my vocation. And I'm really grateful to Mike for giving me the opportunity to sort of like feel that out. on one of my early trips with Mike, which I say early, it was last year in Cottonwood. I got to match and repair a formation, which I named after my Aunt Suzanne. I made that match a couple of weeks after she was murdered, so getting to name something in her honor was very, very meaningful to me. But since then, Mike's kind of given me a really big, awesome project, and that's working on Caverns of Sonora. And on our last trip, which Jenna Crabtree was on, we made 14 repairs in the red top and little lower room. And we have 40 matches in Devil's Pit waiting to be repaired. So Devil's Pit is definitely going to be a big focus room going forward because we've got 40 of them all matched up, just waiting for stalactojacks. And I've had to put those trips on hold a little bit because me and my husband, Matthew, who you saw in some of the earlier photos, have been working on our own formation project, except we've been forming a human being. And we're going to have our little caver hopefully October 31st, hopefully earlier. But CFRP's meant so much to me, and it's given me a great way to get involved. And Mike's given me so many wonderful opportunities to go to cool places and on awesome trips. So thanks, Mike.
Thank you, Tobin. Good luck with it.
Okay, next, and congratulations. So my name is Lima Soto, and I am the National Cave and Karst Program Manager with the Forest Service, and I work with Jen Foote. She introduced me to Mike in 2021. I had to go back to that first Beneath the Forest article, and that's how Mike and I connected. And it was really good because after that, Mike started sharing the reports that he usually shared with Jen that included the volunteers that were working on the projects, when they enter the cave, when they exit the cave, the work that they did. So I got to see a lot of the photos and probably recognize some folks just from the photos and reports. And then if there were any problems that arise, any vandalism that they noticed, I remember one time there was a cow that was stuck and you guys helped the cow. So that was pretty funny. And then I was lucky to participate in one of the workshops at Hamilton Cave in West Virginia. So I got to, play with everything first in the classroom and then repair one stalactite. So it was a really good experience, and it gave me a lot of, I guess, value to the amount of time and effort it takes to repair these speleothems. When you see it in a photo, it might look easy, but it is really hard, and even matching them, it's really hard. So in 2024, Jennifer and I nominated the Cave Formation Repair Project for the Southern Region Volunteer Award, and they won for the restoration work. And I have to say, it's probably the only cave project that I think has won a volunteer award. So thank you so much for all the work that you guys have done. I know you put thousands of hours of work at the Lincoln and Forest Service lands. And like Jennifer said, without the volunteer work, without all the work that Mike and all of you are doing, we were not going to be able to repair these formations. So thank you very much, Mike. It has been great getting the reports, getting to know you, and just, I'm very, very grateful. So thanks.
Thank you, Lima.
Hi, so I think I'm.
Whoops. You muted, Kat.
Oh,
there you go.
Did that work? Okay.
Yep.
Hi, I'm Kat. I have been lucky enough to been on several trips with Mike throughout the last year. I'm originally from the East Coast, caving in the mid-Appalachian region, and I had read a lot about Mike's project and listened to him on the caving podcast. And then I moved out to New Mexico, and I immediately reached out to him, and he was so welcoming, and he got me on trips. And it's just been so amazing to be able to see this process of being able to fix things into the caves so that we're not just leaving them broken, and that we can leave stuff beautiful for our children and our grandchildren as well. And this just isn't work that's really being done back in the area that I started caving in. So I just feel so grateful that I was able to move out here, and that Mike was so welcoming, and that I've been able to learn this so that whenever I do move back to the East, I can bring that with me. Yeah. And I just think that everything that he does with this project is so amazing. And I'm so grateful to have been able to be a part of it. And I'm going to keep it short because I feel like everyone else has said a lot of the amazing things already. So I'll let Minori finish it off.
Thank you, Kat.
Hi, everybody. It's kind of hard to follow up after all the great things that everybody else has already said. I'd like to say that I'm incredibly proud of the work that this project has done, and I'm really proud to have been a part of this. It's been incredibly satisfying, and it's really nice to see the evolution of all the different techniques that have come up over the years. And I think the key to that is the fact that Mike is so open to new ideas, and he's so open to new cavers, and he allows us to have the space to try these out and to experiment, and he gives us the chance to be innovative. And it's incredibly, I feel incredibly seen and incredibly appreciated doing this project. He really doesn't turn down any challenges. There's some formation repairs that have been suggested that seem absolutely daunting and impossible to do, but Mike will not turn them down, and he knows that there's a way to solve this problem. And there's a lot of team effort and in these projects where there's a lot of innovation that comes into play with especially with new people. I feel that almost that all the new cavers and new members of this project are almost more of an asset, because they don't know what's failed, and they just go at it with this attitude with this refreshed attitude that, yeah, we can totally do this, we can totally fix this. And it's their energy into this project has been absolutely incredible. Yeah, this, and like adding all these various teaching tools and teaching instruments to the overall project has been an incredible way to get people ready to go caving and do these repairs. And I really love the way that this is an incredibly unique project in that it's really different from a lot of caving projects where there's a lot of gatekeeping, where if you don't already know the skill, then you can't be a part of the project. But this one's very different, because this is not gatekeeping. This is, in fact, a gateway into caving and doing these cave repairs, and your lack of experience is not holding you back at all. And in a way, your fresh ideas, your fresh eyes to this project are such an asset. And I love the way that this is incredibly unique in that way. And I think this has really changed my attitude about caving, and definitely have made it a priority to include more new cavers and new people to various projects, and to definitely make space for them and to be more inclusive for new cavers for caving projects. So yeah, Mike Mansur has been an incredible mentor in that way, that this definitely changed my attitude about how we include people into caving. So I want to definitely thank you for doing that.
Thank you, Minori. I want to thank you all too for volunteering to just say a few words about this project because it's meant so much to me over the years to meet so many people and see the enthusiasm that has come out of this project. I mean, these people love to work together and love to take on the challenge of making these repairs. And the fun thing is, the amount of people that are interested in doing this. Is, I'm seeing a lot of younger folks that want to do this now, and I keep saying that once the desire wanes and I have less and less people on trips, then I'll probably just completely turn it over to everybody else. But right now, I can announce the trips and fill them and have a wait list on everything. And that's been that way for 8 years now. So it's just shows the enthusiasm people have. And I just really get off on watching people take a formation, walk around for a while with no confidence, and all of a sudden they find a match and this sparkle in their eyes. And oh, wow. And so I let them fix it, and it's so exciting to watch this. And it's contagious. And it goes from people to people that they pass this on to others and say, yeah, you got to try this out. And I just love watching the camaraderie. I love watching everybody together and just, getting along. And at the end of every trip, we all hug each other, male or female, doesn't matter. Everybody gets a hug. And it's just wonderful to see people that are strangers to each other end up that way after about 8 hours together. So I can't say enough about all your comments. It's really made me feel good to hear all that, the impact it's made. So thank you so much for all that, and may you continue this project on in your own ways and your own directions in the future. And I won't be around forever, but at least I know that you folks have got this desire to keep it going. So thank you very much for all you said. Appreciate that. So with that, I'm going to go out to the thank you stuff. So I want to thank all these folks too. So the National Park, Rod Horrocks, Aaron Lynch, Hunter Klein, and at the time, Alan Trotner, she went to BLM. Joan Garcia, Carmen Chapin, and all the park staff who participated on our trips and been supportive and provided the permits and the request to have us come and do work there to begin with. I think it's just wonderful that they think so much of this project that not only will they participate, but they'll be glad to issue permits and suggestions as to where we would work next. And the Forest Service with Lima, Jen, and Aaron Stockton, it's just wonderful working with you. And your enthusiasm is just exciting to see that you really appreciate all we do and love to see the trip reports. So that inspires us to even do more and to look for other folks and try to recruit new members that can participate in this very successful project. And with the BLM as well, with Newt Peterson and Ellen Trotner, they provide the permits to have us go into Fort Stanton and McKittrick Hills, McKittrick Cave rather, and Little Manhole. All that was really because they had requested us to be there. And finally, Great Basin National Park, Gretchen Baker had asked me to come up and do that speaking of them repair workshop, and I loved it because here's 40 people learning how to do this, and now they're excited to keep going. And I think, yeah, I know that Kirsten Barr has continued on this path with repairs and stuff. So I just want to thank that from the group standpoint, that we really appreciate the management, because without you being there, we wouldn't be there. And we wouldn't be allowed to be in there. And it helps keep it going and motivating us. And so I also want to thank all the 271 people that donated the time to be on this project, and just their excitement and desire to keep going and asking for more trips keeps me going too. So it was your efforts that made this all possible, and we have all the trip reports to back us up and to show your efforts, and I really appreciate all that too. So this is the award that Lima talked about earlier. The 2023 USFS Southwest Region Restoration and Volunteer Award to the CFRP. And it was just wonderful. It was a beautiful, like a sand art there. It's so nice to receive that, and thank you for the folks from the Forest Service for nominating us for that. And just a team effort that we so gratefully acknowledge that you know, we got that, and I love it. And thank you so much. And so the other award I wanted to talk about is the Salactajack Award. So I realized that there wasn't an award in the Southwest region to reward to acknowledge people that have been doing restoration work and conservation work. So I created this Salactajack Award, which will be awarded annually to the Southwest region active members. And so I wanted to base it on what I consider the pillars of the CFRP, the restoration, formation repair, innovation, conservation, and project participation. And so the first two were awarded to Minori and Todd Roberts. That was 2019. And since we have several people on this call that have got the award, and what it is that I donated money to the Southwest region to cover this award every year. So they get a certificate and a $100 check. And the decision is made on the by nominations from folks within the Southwest region. And so once a year, I assemble the committee of all the past Jack recipients and myself, and we determine by a scale of 1 to 10 on each one of those pillars how people rate. And it's fun to award that every year. I think that's a nice thing to have, and for them people to know that they had participated in this project, and we appreciate it. And that's what this Jack Award looks like, the certificate, and of course the $100 check goes with it. And so this is something that we're proud to give to folks every year for their participation. And so my vision of the future of this project would have as many people that have worked on it start their own projects up. You know, I'm just lucky that I was able to replace my hips and my knees to continue this on, or I wouldn't have been able to keep doing it. So I encourage you all to keep this project going, train people, educate the public, let them know that that this project exists and what it means to everybody, and say, look, here we're doing this volunteer efforts to try to get rid of the wrongs that all were by vandalism in the past. We're trying to make it so future generations will see the cave in more of a natural state that it was, and try to engage and provide training for everybody. I appreciate you all been doing that now, but keep it going on, because like I say, I'm trying my best to keep going, but I know that it's going to be in good hands in the future for all you folks that have been on this call. And it means a lot to me to know that there's enthusiasm there and the skill sets are there, and just take it and go with it and share anything new. And as long as I'm around, I'd be glad to put it in the next edition of the book if you've got new innovations and procedures, because there's always an improvement that can be made. So I'd like to see this continue on and other generations be talking about this annually as well. So here is what the book looks like now. This is the third edition. The first edition was a e-copy or e-book, and then I was convinced that people wanted to have a hard copy. So for me to sign it or use as a workbook, they could take into the cave and open it up, and so that's why it has the binder look to it. But you can get it. Let's see, through the NSS bookstore. There's a member discount. So it's self-published. I pay for the printing of these books, and then I sell them to the bookstore or Carlsbad Caverns gift shop. Speedly Books has them, and I think there's a couple other sites that have approached me that want to do this. So you can get the books there. You can contact me, but the bookstore, any of the profits that they make from the sale, it cost me $23 each to print them, and I think they sell them for $30 each. And so those proceeds go toward the NSS and the Conservation Fund. And so here are the different avenues and different venues you can take a look at. So we created a Facebook page, a public page that talks about all the stuff that we have done. There's links to the webinars, the podcasts, and things like that. And I post all the trips. I put select pictures onto that Facebook page for people to follow. The NSS webinar that we did was back a couple years ago. We were asked by Deborah Heyer to put on a webinar that contained the preservation, restoration, sinkhole cleanup, and repair. So 4 of us did a piece on that. So that's available on the NSS YouTube channel under the name of Preservation, Restoration, Repair, and Overview of the Project in the Southwest. So let's see, you can also see on caves.org the Thousands Repair article. That's a neat thing that the park did a nice write-up on that. And John Cochran had done an interview with me, which is a link into that too. So take a peek at that. They did a great write-up. Beneath the Forest that Lima was talking about, you can look that article, do a search on Google and find that as a reference. And it was pretty neat because that was in the early stages of the project when that was published. And yeah, I got it on the bottom, the links on the bottom there too. And just in the last month, I was asked by National Parks and Conservation magazine or bulletin they interviewed me and they took a bunch of photographs that we had from select trips, and that's going to come out in the September edition of that book or that publication. And when it does, I make sure I'll send that out. I'll put it on the Facebook page and stuff. But that's going to come out talking about the project, all the stuff that we have done in the Park Service system. So those are just different things that you can look at later on for reference. And I'll put the link of this webinar onto that site too for Facebook page so people can look at that. And here's the photo credits. I hope I got everybody that was in the presentation on here. I'm pretty sure I did. But out of the thousands, and I mean there's thousands of 166 trips of all the photographs taken and put on the different Google photos and trip reports and stuff, I have to be, really, it's hard to select the good pictures for each trip report because there's so many good ones. But I tried to do like a mosaic of it for the this presentation. I hope I covered most of it. But they're the people that I think provided the photos in this webinar. And I thank everybody for participating in this, and just please keep passing it on and start new projects. Don't be afraid to do that. And there's plenty of us that you can use as a reference to say, how do you start it? It's not that difficult, and just think of the benefits. You'll be able to maybe take Boy and Girl Scout troops in the caves and show them how to do repairs. You saw the enthusiasm we had with the Girl Scouts there. I hope that can continue on, and keep sharing your experiences with other folks. Get them jazzed. It's really fun to watch the new folks come in and start to interact and work and open up with the older folks. I just love that so much. So please continue that on. And with that, I'll see if there's any questions. Anybody have any questions that we could answer?
I think a lot of the questions came up in the chat window and were answered by your other team members.
Oh, I didn't even see the chat window. Oh, I can stop sharing here. Hold on. I can't get out of this thing.
Well, everybody jumped in and narrated the answers as you were speaking. It was wonderful.
Oh, wonderful, Matt. Well, that's cool. Thank you guys for doing that. I didn't even, with a full screen, I wasn't able to see the chat. So, okay, maybe we ought to look at the chat now. Jenna, do you want to field any questions that's there that might not be answered, or if they all are, great.
It looks like we just honestly have a lot of interest in people who don't live in New Mexico, who are wanting to kind of connect with one of your arm branches, or with you.
Okay. Well, they have the venue if they want to. Well, you can either email me or the others, but you can get us on Facebook too to send it. I think the public page has a messenger, right? It has something like that. And then there's something on the private Facebook page, Michael Mansur. If anybody wants to friend me or contact me that way, you can. But also my email is cav8@protonmail.com. But if you contact me and you want to talk to anybody else on this call, I can send you their email addresses as well. I won't share phone numbers and stuff unless you ask for that or they tell me it's okay to do that. But yeah, please do. Be glad to start anything up. Yeah, somebody speaking there. I'm sorry. Well, I guess not. So we're all the questions are answered. I appreciate everybody being on this call and thank you. And maybe we'll make sure the the link gets sent out to everybody so you can share that with others too. And please share it because we want to get as many people involved in this as we can. There's thousands of caves in the country that need our work. And just think, if you could start a project, you take the credit for that and start your own publication, start your own YouTube site. I encourage all that. This is hopefully a catalyst to help get people involved in doing this in the future. And you have all these great folks that spoke tonight that could be glad to help you out. And you can contact folks that way through the NSS. And all I can say is thank you so much for being part of this. I'm glad we pulled it off. Technically, sometimes these Zoom things don't work so well on the grotto meetings we have. So this seemed to go out very smoothly thanks to all the people involved. So I guess that's it. Well, thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you so much, Mike, for presenting. Thank you for all of the other guest speakers that came. That was really nice. Everyone on there, I think I consider a friend. I think I've met most of those people through Mike's projects or the NSS. For your viewing enjoyment, this will be posted on the NSS website, and we will have that link sent out. You can also just Google the NSS webinar page, and if you log in with your credentials, you'll be able to see this webinar, all of the webinars we've done in 2025, and then the webinars from before that. It takes normally about 2 weeks for us to get the webinar on there. So if you just give us a little grace and patience, we'll have this up and running. So thank you so much, everyone. I look forward to seeing y'all in future webinars and hopefully around conventions and cave projects and trips.
Yep. Thank you all. Appreciate it. And thank you, Jenna, too. Jenna and Jacob for being there for us to help run this. And it turned out beautifully, I believe.
Yes, our pleasure.
Yeah, thank you for coming, Mike, and speaking.
You're welcome. Well, good night to everybody. Thank you so much and happy caving and have fun.